Hey, oh,
Oh, hey.
hey now,
Oh,
hey now.
that music is dangerous. I got like lost in a trance. I was looking at my phone and then I remember to snap out of it at like the last second. I looked up and I wasn't caught unaware.
Almost fell asleep.
Yeah, that was some transient music.
Tranquil.
I don't know. We gotta work on that.
Yeah, that was very tranquil.
Maybe it's good though. Like the people that are here are like they're suckered into like a hypnotic state. Like you can't escape the Gadget Cast.
You can
You're
never
all
leave.
in. You're all in.
You're stuck.
Stuck with us for the next 40 minutes.
All right. I guess we should just get into it. So, really no pre-show. I guess we just get right into it. There's lots to talk about since we weren't here last weekend. So we should probably just get right into all the things. All right, let's do it. You ready?
Hold on. I'm just tweeting.
Oh man alive. I guess I'll talk about it on GadgetCast. I have to hint at it because this weekend has been good in a lot of ways. Yeah, we'll talk about it on the GadgetCast, but all from a creative standpoint. So super happy about that. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
All right. I'm ready, guys.
All right, here we go. GadgetCast starting in 3, 2, 1, record.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Hello, world. It is an exciting week. Apple just wrapped up their March 8th event. We're going to talk about everything they announced. But first of all, my name is Gregory McFadden, joined always with my co-host Travis MCP.
Space travel.
I just say space travel.
That's right. Oh. Greg. I can see that your egg is scrambled a little bit. You've been working with all this Apple release stuff that you're missing. You're stepping on the intro. You're playing things twice. I mean, it's been tough for you this week, hasn't it, Greg?
Yes. I know how to make Apple videos, and that's it at this point. I don't know how to socialize with people. At one point, Travis, I put out like 4 videos in the span of 2 days, and I was like looking at it all, and I'm like, whoa. What am I doing?
You're jumping on board when you need to jump on board. This is one of the 2 or 3 times a year where you need to get it while you can get it. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe more this year. I mean, we're in March, right? So there's still a couple more opportunities, maybe 4 times this year, right? Maybe.
Yeah, it's a crazy season because Apple. We're going to talk about everything Apple announced with the new Mac Studio, iPad Air, iPhone SE, Studio Display. But I was just reading rumors again today because the rumor mill never stops. And they're saying like maybe we could even expect more Macs from now until Apple's next event, which would be WWDC in June. So they're saying maybe more Macs.
It's hard to say because so much of these leaks have been accurate, but a lot of them haven't been just either inaccurate or the timing is wrong or something weird. Like we're getting like a couple of, I don't know, when did we first hear about the Studio?
The Studio was very last minute. That was like a day before the event. And I remember doing a video on it going, you know what, this actually makes sense with the peak performance tagline being spelled a different way than the peak of performance. So I was like, you know, this actually makes a lot of sense to me. And lo and behold, it came out and yeah, it was 100% accurate. Sometimes you hear those rumors and they don't pass the sniff test. You're kind of like, okay, this comes out a day before. This is not happening. There's no way. And I feel like we got a lot of last minute rumors like the week before. They're saying maybe an M2 MacBook Pro would be at this event. And you're like, well, they didn't release all the M1 Macs. It really doesn't make sense for them to do that at this point. And why would they put it in the MacBook Pro instead of the MacBook Air first and to really build hype off a new chip? So there's a lot of stuff that sometimes doesn't make sense. And you think about it for a second and you go, I don't think that's going to be there. And I think we got to give it to our friend of the show, Luke Miani, Duke Miami. He's a leaker all of a sudden. That was like his report and his leak. And he called all that. So I was like, I didn't even know how to believe that because he put out some renders with renders by Ian, who does a great job doing all those like Apple concept renders, and they put this out like a day before the event, and there was some stuff they didn't get, but for the most part, it pretty much looked exactly like what they announced. Like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting, the last second stuff. Let's rewind though first before we jump, because this is what pretty much the entire show is going to be about, the Apple presentation. So let's rewind a little bit, talk real quick about some things outside of that, and then we'll jump deep in. But I think we should start with the iPhone SE before we get into the Apple stuff, because that's going to be very fast. We're going to go through. We're just gonna go through all that, the stuff that's not as important. The colors.
We got to hold you for the whole show, is what Travis was saying. We were talking about the Mac Studio. I was about to go on a tangent. Travis was like, wait a minute. I've been in this podcast game for a little while. We can't lead with the hit story.
Right.
iPhone SE, it's pretty much what we expected. Looks the same, has an A15 chip in it, has 5G. I think the big surprise to me, and I kind of really didn't like this, was that they raised the price by $29.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, so people were saying, I mean, I was like, well, probably silicon shortages probably has something to do with it, or shipping shortages or something like that. But then it also could be the new 5G, modem in it or something. I mean, it could be any number of things. It was a little bit of a bummer to see that, but it's still going to be, because if you think about it, a lot of people who are going to be buying this are going to be buying it on monthly payment plans, and $30 over the course of 3 years is nothing. So for people paying for it straight out, which I don't think there's going to be that many people buying that phone straight out, yeah, it's a little bit like, that sucks. But for people who are going to be doing the $16 a month or whatever, it's $16.50 probably. It's very little.
In the grand scheme of buying a phone, $29, not the biggest thing in the world to really complain about. Not going to stop you from buying this phone. It's just one of those things that you look at and it's like, you look at the design of it and it's pretty old, and you think there's just going to be a huge savings passed on to customers. So the fact that it's actually just a little bit more expensive than the old iPhone SE, it just kind of makes you go, well, okay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're even wondering maybe it'd be like a $350 phone, but it wasn't. It's even more expensive. And I think that is, I don't know if I could say to Apple's credit, but to their consistency, when they've added on 5G to even the 12 and the 13, technically those phones are what, $829 and $729, because to get it at that $800 flat price point, you actually do have to buy it through the carriers. But if you buy it unlocked, there is kind of like this little $29 tax added, and I'm guessing that's due to 5G. For some reason, adding 5G boosts the price of these phones $29.
Right. Maybe. I think it's still an important phone, because Apple likes to have phones across multiple price ranges. Very smart. It's not exciting to us because we're tech tubers and stuff, and we're always looking for the latest and greatest stuff. But it's actually a really important product for Apple. It was still one of the top 10 selling phones the year it came out. I think it was number 2 or something like that. And it was even a year or so later, it was still like in the top 10. So it's it's a moneymaker for Apple. It's not the most exciting thing, but when you get a $400 phone with the A15, I'm looking around everywhere else going, what other $400 phones have a best-in-class leading processor, which of course will help with things like photography and stuff, and have 5G and have all these things. There's not a lot out there that can say that.
Yeah, I think the silicon is really cool in it. I made a point in my video saying, for all intents and purposes, I agree with a lot of people. It's a boring phone. I'm not that excited for it, to be honest. But I try and take myself out of that and picture I'm a customer looking at this phone, and I want to try and highlight all the positives. And to be able to walk in and get what is essentially a $400 phone and not be left behind in the processor department is something you really can't say for any Android phone out there right now. There's no Android phone on the market that ever pursues that strategy of putting a flagship processor into a phone at that low of a price point. And, you might go, oh, customers, who needs all that power in an iPhone? This is getting ridiculous. But the longevity of these devices, to a budget customer especially, where they want to keep these phones for the next 5 years plus, and then you're telling me that because it's an iPhone, it's going to get updates for like probably the next 8 years, if you look at how long the original iPhone SE has been supported, and you're going to be able to use this phone 8 years from now, and you're going to receive day one updates. You're not going to have any of this weird release schedule. You get the phone when iOS 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 comes out, you're there day one with the rest of everyone else enjoying all the new features. That's important. That's cool. I like that. And I've always liked that about Apple's strategy with their updates on these older phones.
Yeah, it's I'm excited for the fact that this is a thing. I'm not excited to buy the Pro, and I even did a video about this. Like, it's a great phone, but no one who's watching this video is going to buy it. I still believe that. But anyway, it's important for their portfolio.
Did you pick an iPhone SE up?
No, I didn't.
No.
So I considered it, but I'm focusing on other things on the channel, which I'll talk about later. I had considered it. And one thing was when I did the one video about it and realized that not that many people, I already kind of knew those people weren't going to buy the phone, but I thought maybe I might watch a video on it. And that really wasn't the case. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, there's no reason for me to buy it. Unless I can think of something interesting, but I don't see myself picking that up. I am, however, picking up one of the new color cases because they came out with some new color cases for the silicone version of the Apple phones.
Oh, yeah.
Some really cool colors. One that finally matches the actual blue.
Saw that. I remember you complaining distinctly about there's no color option for this new blue. What is Apple doing? There you go.
Ironically, they had a green leather case, and now they come out with the green iPhone. So I don't know, but no blue leather case. So I don't know why they didn't do that. But new green case. That was something else that came out that we heard about last second again, right?
Yeah.
Nothing exciting other than the color. The color is kind of nice on the Pro, I think. It reminded me a lot of the 11 Pro series, but I guess when I just seen this video and you saw the comparison between the two, there actually is still a significant difference in color. I think I remember it differently. I remember it being a darker green, but obviously it's not. It's more darker this year. So interesting that they started doing this now with these color things where they'll wait a couple months and then come out with another color, which sucks, by the way. Like, please don't do that because people aren't going to double dip for colors. Not very many people. I think we would like the option at the beginning.
Yeah, it's that classic Apple thing, or I think even a couple other smartphone manufacturers have done this, where it's kind of like you get to like rebuild hype because of a new color, but it's all it is a new color change. And if you really like that new color, you kind of feel burned of like, I really wish this was an option when I bought my phone. I would have got the new green color if this was not. I'm pretty happy with my blue, to be honest. I'm not really envious on this new green color. It looks like the 11 Pro, which again, I think is kind of cool. That was a cool color, but I'm not too upset. But I saw a lot of people going, if this was available day one, this is the one I would have got. And I'm like, most sane people aren't going to go out and rebuy a phone because of the color choice. So,
yeah. So, I just wish they would do it all at one time, but okay. So it was another announcement. Now, another announcement, which we knew was right, is the iPad Air getting the update. But what's interesting about it is, still 64 gigs for the base storage, which is very Apple. But perhaps more interestingly, this thing is darn near a Pro. It is so close to being an iPad Pro that you almost have to question, why would you ever buy a Pro? One aspect would be, okay, 120 hertz. That's fair. But what's the price difference between those two? Because that's one of the only differences that's any kind of like significant thing.
I think for me, the biggest differences between the Air and the Pro at this point would be the 120 hertz. And then the speaker system on the Pro is slightly better, which I do like. I do like that about the Pro iPads. They sound pretty nice.
Sure.
But that's, in terms of usability, I think that's the main thing at this point. I'm still a little shocked that they put the M1 into the Air. I guess maybe it makes sense. We've heard so much about these chip shortages at this point, and the A15 is the iPhone's chip. So if they're making these chips and they're already having shortages with iPhone, their top seller, they cannot release products that have this A15 chip in it that are going to be high demand. And I'm thinking, and it'd be interesting to see a behind the scenes on this if we ever get a story. I'm thinking they went, well, we were making so many of these M1 chips. We'll just put the M1 in the Air. We won't have to worry about supply shortages for the iPhone. Because I think if there was no shortages, I really think there would be an A15 in this, because I feel like competitively, people look at the specs for the Air and the Pro, and they're kind of wondering, why should I get an iPad Pro? I think it's a great, a Rorschach test where you put an ink blot, because I think right now there's two sides to this. depending on how you look at both of these products, I think you have half the people looking at the iPad Air and going, why would I get an iPad Pro for $200 more? And I think you got another side kind of looking at it going, why would I get the iPad Air when I can get all these other things on the iPad Pro that are better? Like, there's like both of these points. I don't know who's necessarily correct. It's kind of, I think the starting storage on the Air is like the biggest weakness for me. Like 64 is not enough. And the only other option is to get 256 for $750. Then you're $50 away from a 128 gigabyte Pro. That's the hard thing.
Yeah, and I'm really curious because I'm going to go to an Apple store. I was going to go yesterday. Maybe I'll go today or tomorrow to get my new colored case. And now I'm kind of curious to ask one of the sales associates there what they are telling people is the difference and why you should buy one over the other. Because more than likely, it's the marketing information from Apple. So I'd be interested to see what Apple thinks themselves is, like, why would you buy one or the other? Of course, they're going to say, well, if you're doing this, that, and the other, you probably want to use the Pro. Well, the main and really major thing between the two, besides storage, which is a big deal, and the 120 hertz, is the fact that they're both using the same processor, which is the thing that's going to get the job done. I guess, but so what is it? Is it $200 difference between the bases of the two?
So it's interesting. There is a $200 difference between the base models of these devices. However, let's say you took an iPad Pro and you put 256 gigabytes on it, and you took an iPad Air and you put 256 gigabytes on it. The real price difference between both of them at the same specs is $150.
Gotcha. It's still a bit of a difference like that,
Yeah. Again, it's like I said, it's kind of a test to see what kind of person you are, because there's some people that would go $150. Well, I'm going all out. What's the big deal? But then you have people on the other side of the spectrum who are like, $150. That's a lot of $150. What are you crazy?
Yeah.
I'm going to get the iPad Air. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of a test to see where your values are when you're purchasing tech. I think most people, most average people going in looking at both of these devices, I think they walk away with the Air. And I also think, you look at the Air, you look at like some of the color options that are available. You go, you know what? This iPad Air is looking pretty good. I wish some of the iPad Pros had these color choices.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see people in the chat talking about putting M series of chips into iPhones. I would watch, I think a year or so ago, Renee Ritchie did a video about an M series iPhone that I think really answers that question. So for anyone who's wondering, well, why don't they just put an M series in an iPhone? I would look at that. The kind of short answer is it wouldn't be as beneficial as people think. Because currently the M series is based off of a much older chip than the current A15, and then the power that the M series has over an A series is in things that I don't think are very beneficial to a smartphone. So I don't see that ever happening. It could happen just for any random reason, but I don't see it happening. It would be kind of weird. Okay, so back to what we're saying. The Air, so I guess the long and the short of it is, the Air, do you buy it? It's in a weirder place than it was before they announced this, Greg. I feel like. Or it is compromised the 11 inch.
It is in a weirder place because I think before my advice would be do not buy this device. It's very outdated. You get an iPad mini, it's more powerful. Mm-hmm. But now it's in a weirder spot because I'm not sure what the recommendation is to make. It's such a priorities thing. I think 64 gigabytes is way too low for this type of device. Mm-hmm. The amount of power it's packing to last you the next 5 years plus, this thing's going to last forever with an M1. I feel like you get the 256, but hey, I don't know. Maybe you're really not using storage at all. Maybe you're like getting this, you're using it for a couple things. It's mostly internet-based streaming. Maybe the 64 does you fine. And if you could really live with that, if you know any added storage is going to be a waste of money, that's probably a really good deal. My big complaint with this is Apple positions the iPad Pro and now even the iPad Air as these laptop alternatives or replacements, whatever you want to call them. And I just feel like with the M1 in it, I really feel like it's just they almost went out of their way to find 64 gigabytes. There's no M1 Mac or M1 iPad before this that could be configured with 64 gigabytes. It was at least 128. So I get why they did it, because I think if you had a 128 gigabyte iPad Air, who would buy the Pro? I feel like then it's like that's the just go for that. But I do wish there was an extra option in the middle. I would pay $50 more on this iPad Air for the 128 gigabytes, and I think that would be fine. You can get that on the iPhone SE. You can pay $50 more. You get double the storage. If they could have fit that in this lineup, I think it makes my recommendations a little bit easier. But because the jump is so big to get the next storage tier, and because that rubs right up against the iPad Pro, where a lot of people can make that 128 option work, it's so difficult for me to decide which one to go with.
Well, here's the other thing. It really
depends. It depends on what you want and how you're going to use this thing.
I think it'll be more clear when the new iPad Pro comes out. If they decide to continue the 11-inch iPad Pro and decide to not raise the price on it, it should then have mini LED, of course, 120 hertz, bigger storage at only about $150 to $200 more. And at that point, I think they do separate them, and M2 probably. So I think at that point, it's much more obvious who is for what. I think right now it's just blurry because they're just too similar, and it's just a weird thing. I think there's not enough of a separation of them yet. Yeah, but I think that'll change.
If I could look into my crystal ball and make a prediction for the next 11-inch iPad Pro, I think, and then maybe this would actually make the Air way better, I think it's going to get more expensive. They raised the price $100 when they put mini LED on the 12.9 inch. They released the new MacBook Pros. They're very expensive. That mini LED is not cheap to produce by any means. And prices in general are just going up from everything going on in the world right now. I think when they do refresh this M2 iPad Pro, if they put especially if they put mini LED on the 11-inch, I think that's now an $899 device. And then you have a $300 price difference. And then that's a way easier conversation to have. The hard part for me is looking at the Air and looking at what you really get. I know it looks nice, but if you really look at that base model iPad, that comes with 64 gigabytes of starting storage. It comes with an A13 chip. And it's half the price of that device with the same starting storage. That's the one I look at and I go, I know it doesn't look as nice. I know it doesn't have that cool design, but everything you could do on that iPad Air, maybe if you're getting the Apple Pencil, okay, but like if you're just getting it for like a tablet kind of thing, realistically, there's no difference. They both even have fingerprint sensors, and I think I'd make the argument that the regular iPad has it in the better spot than having it on the power button for an iPad. So I'm kind of looking at that going, I know it's not like the cool thing to have, but you spend literally half the price and get yourself that base model iPad, which continues to just be that amazing value, and it's not exciting. Like that is the real SE device where it's like you really look at it and you look at the other offerings and you're going, yeah, if you really need an iPad, you should probably just get that.
Yeah, the base level is still just hard to beat, and whenever it goes on sale, it's like impossible to beat. It's like,
and it regularly goes on sale for like below 300, like sometimes like 250 if you're like during this holiday season, or that's a long time away. Next holiday season, it'll be like 250 again.
Yeah. All right. So that's the Air and that's the iPhone SE.
Before I move on, I just wanted to do real quick because I kept having in my head, I kept forgetting.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you like? We're talking about options. All of a sudden, we're talking about options. And, historically, when we talk about Apple, we talk about a lack of options that they have. And that's something people have always complained about. Apple has this. I wish they would offer me this at a lesser price point, and I would take these sacrifices. Well, with these products, Travis, and, we're talking about a lot of online discourse basically deciding, what do I get? What do I get? Well, even if you don't like these products, the Air and the SE, these are options now. These are, with the Air, it's a cheaper option. It doesn't get everything the Pro has. I've seen so many people in my comments going, I would have bought this if they added 120 hertz. And if they added everything with the iPad Pro and lowered the price point. It's like, yeah,
well, of course you would.
Of course you would buy it. That's an iPad Pro. Like, exactly. yes. You have to understand that because it's a lower price point, it needs to They need to drop some things to hit that price point. And then with the iPhone SE, listen, I fully acknowledge it's not the phone for me. It's probably not the phone for anyone who's watching my videos. I think the views on my iPhone SE video prove that out. But it's an option, and it's something rare that I think past Apple might not have done to this point of, Apple gets criticized, maybe rightfully so sometimes, for moving too fast. So I think there's a scenario where Apple releases the iPhone 10 and they never release another phone with a home button after that. They go, that home button, it's over. They release a device, they get rid of ports. They brought the ports back, but before that, they're like, you know what? These are the ports you get now. This is what you get. So now Apple is giving you those options. They have an older style phone design that they're still selling in their lineup that a lot of people are going, why are you still selling that older design? But it's still an option for the people that really like that. How do you feel about that, Travis?
As far as like just switching completely over, like taking an iPhone XR and making it the new SE?
No, I'm saying like people are complaining that Apple's keeping these older options around, like they're updating them. But do you think they should just rip the Band-Aid off and move everyone over and say this home buttons thing, it's obviously going away. You should just come in with us? Or do you think they should keep providing that kind of design for people who refuse to move over, who don't, or let's be honest, who don't want to move over, who don't want to take the time to learn something that's honestly, I think, pretty simple to grasp, even for most people who are like older in my family who have moved to these new devices. Took them a couple days to get the hang of it, but they got the hang of it.
I think they did at one point when the iPhone 10 came out, and then for a couple of years, there wasn't an option. Of course, the iPhone 8 and the 10 came out at the same time, so you had a button. It was the last time we really had a button. But by the time 11 came out, was the 8 still available when the 11 came out? I don't remember if that was.
Yeah, it was. It was in the lineup for. It was basically the SE at the same price point, but they never update it, so it was like a really bad deal to get.
At some point, yeah. And what I think I think the reason they brought it back isn't because they're like particularly greedy and want this thing out there. I think it's because there's a demand, and apparently, especially in places like India, it's actually a pretty popular version of the phone. So it's an easy decision for them to go, just keep putting the newer processor in there and see if you can figure out a way to make it better each year. But we're keeping the design. And by the way, some people like that design. Again, it's not going to be a lot of us, but it doesn't have to be, because there's more people that are not us than are us, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So I would like for them to move on, but it doesn't matter because I'm not buying this phone anyway. So what does it matter what I think? This isn't for me. It isn't for most of the people listening to this podcast, whether it be audio or video. It's not for us. So I think Apple isn't doing it just because. I think they're doing it because there's people out there buying it. Because think of it this way. It's obviously a business decision. If everyone felt like we did, they wouldn't sell any, thus they wouldn't make any, because it would be a bad business decision. There are people buying this. Sales figures have already come out, over the last couple of years of the SE that came out a couple of years ago, and it was a pretty big winner. Like, it sold a lot. So the answer is stop buying them. I mean, really, if you want Apple to move forward, stop buying the stuff. And I say that about a lot of stuff, like, oh, they're charging all this money, they shouldn't be able to get away with it. Well, then stop buying it. That's literally how you get prices to come down, is to get people to stop buying it. And if it turns out that they don't stop buying it, why should they stop making it? If you had your own business where you were putting something out there and you realized you could get more of a profit by using an older version of, let's say you bake pies, right? And you're like, well, there's this new sugar-free thing I can put in there. It's going to cost me an extra 50 cents per pie slice that I put in there. I'm going to lose some profit, but it'll be good for people. It's going to be better. I'm moving everything along. But people don't seem to care, and they're willing to spend 50 cents more for the other one, the one that doesn't have this new 50-cent thing, and you're actually making more profit. Are you going to stop doing that? I mean, why? You're not a good business person. If you said yes, you're not a good business person. You probably do not own a business. So until people stop buying it, it's going to exist. Whether we think it's a dumb thing or a trash thing to do or not, it will not stop until people stop buying it. End of story. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well said. Well said.
So That is the SE and that is the Air. Now there's a bunch of meat after this because I don't think anyone even knew that the M1 Ultra was a thing until they like popped it up, and then it's like, wait a minute, how come that didn't leak? Like, how did that happen? And I think maybe I'm trying to figure out how did that happen, because that's kind of a big deal to have not leaked. It would be one thing if the Ultra wasn't coming out until later this year, so they got ahead of it. But the fact that products are shipping this coming up week with that thing means it's been out there. Now, from the outside of any of these studios, you wouldn't be able to tell. So the fact that the studio was hidden for as long as it was is also another amazing feat by Apple, especially as many people want to leak that stuff as possible. But even when that leaked, there wasn't like oh, by the way, incredible new SoC coming out. The Ultra looks crazy. Now, there are some bench scores that are coming out. A lot of questions. Is it on the GPU side? Is it better than a 3090? In some cases, yes. In many cases, no. But in some cases, yes, which is kind of crazy. Is it better than a top desktop Intel processor? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. But the fact that it ever is kind of crazy. So the whole thing of them hiding in plain sight this connection thing, which I actually think MaxTech or someone a while back had mentioned that they thought that's what they were going to use to get the next version of this, was kind of incredible, because they basically hid the ability to expand this thing. Like, remember when SLI first came out for GPUs, when you bought 2 GPUs and connected them together to get better performance? Basically the same damn thing, but better. And now you've got this incredibly powerful thing that's the size of a 2 Mac Minis stacked on top of each other. And it's kind of incredible. Now, I know you got, 2 coming to you?
Yeah.
Are you like super hyped about this? Or are you just kind of like, I just want to see it, my stuff's going to open up the same as it always was. But are you like, oh my God?
No, I'm super hyped for it. I know maybe some people out there watching this would go, why are you super hyped for a little desktop computer? But I said it in my videos. This is a type of desktop computer I didn't foresee Apple making ever again. It's basically, I know you can spec it out to ridiculous prices, but like the base model and all that, it's a $2,000 mid-spec kind of PC. At least in today's market, where you can spend a ridiculous amount of money configuring, especially on like GPU stuff. But desktop PCs, they're not like the hottest thing in the world, especially not with Macs, because let's be honest, gaming on a Mac isn't a thing, whereas gaming on PC, that's actually something people want to do, and that's something people are willing to spend a lot of money on. So it looked like, going back a few years ago, it kind of looked like Apple was trying to get away from this market and not make this type of desktop anymore. It looked like they were going to keep the Mac Mini around and just offer that at a low price point, a very easy computer for them to make. And then, they were going to make the Mac Pro. And if you wanted the full desktop experience, we'll sell it to you, but it's going to, you're going to have to be in this kind of market. You're going to need to at least give us $6,000. So I thought, okay, well, Apple, obviously, they sell a lot of their laptops. That's their biggest seller. They're obviously going to keep making Pro laptops, and they're going to focus on this iMac. The iMacs have become so powerful now, especially with Apple Silicon. I'm sure they can get these chips to fit inside of an iMac, and that's going to be it, right? You're going to have the Mac Mini, the iMac, and Mac Pro. And what happened was kind of the opposite. The iMac, the 27-inch, at least the machine I used to use, that's gone. It's discontinued on their website. People don't even know if it's coming back at this point. So now they have this mid-size Mac Studio, and I'll have to see when I get it, but I'm just going to take Apple at their word, considering they haven't lied about their silicon performance yet. And what we know about Apple Silicon is that it's very low power. It doesn't really have too many thermal issues, because the low energy consumption means it doesn't heat up that much. So you might look at that small desktop design and think, oh, this thing's going to throttle at performance, but with Apple Silicon, it won't. And it basically gives, I would say, the creative market who is looking for this kind of desktop everything they would want in a small little desktop box, even down to the port arrangement, where if you're getting that Ultra configuration, You're getting 6 Thunderbolt ports, which is just a crazy amount of expandability for like high speed storage, driving high resolution monitors. And I think the design makes a lot of sense for that type of market, a market that I'm in. So I'm very excited for it. And the Ultra chip, I don't even know if I can really, the M1 Max, which I currently use, is already ridiculously fast. I'm sure I could get all my work done on an M1 Pro. I can get all my work done honestly. And there might be a little slowdown here or there, but I can get all my work done, and I have for a while on an M1 machine. So this Ultra sounds, to me at least, ridiculous. It's probably the highest I would ever need to go. I'm sure I'll only see slight benefits from it, if I even see a benefit from moving over to it. But I'm more interested to see what someone else can do with this chip. Like, if that makes sense. I'm more interested to see what other creative types who can actually utilize this performance. And I'm kind of looking forward to those release day review videos where people go over the performance with people who actually have all these skills and are using higher resolution cameras than me, who have to work with all these graphics or stuff like that. I want to see what they can do with it, because I do think it just sounds so impressive to me.
Yeah, I also I'm curious how loud those fans are going to be, because they look kind of big.
I think
it's the first time
quiet.
They should be, because everything else has. But then again, we've never seen fans this big on an M processor, period, because the need has never been there. So this is kind of interesting. They're throwing in a bunch more wattage at this thing. So they're cooling it off in a way that seems more, I don't want to say it's excessive, because obviously there's a reason for it, but it's freaking huge. Up to this point, you've seen either little fans or no fans on the M processors. Now we're doing things that looks like a legit like GPU heatsink and fan on it. So I'm curious. And of course, the other thing is, and I know Luke has been at this, and a lot of people are trying to figure out what their graphs were saying. Oh, it's 80% faster than this, 9%. Like, what does that really mean? The thing that I mentioned during the presentation is they kept switching metrics. They would say percentage one time and then times the next time. And you might think, oh, it's just, who cares? Because it's not the same thing exactly. You either say percentages the entire time or you say times all the time. It's weird to say 80% and then say 2.5 times. Like, why? Just say the percentage or just say the times. So it's a very strange, thing, but I suspect it's going to be amazing, because the M1 was great, the Pro was great, the Max was crazy. Putting two Maxes together, it sounds like putting it on steroids. It sounds like it's incredible, right? So I don't suspect it's going to be any kind of like worry. The thing is going to be crazy. It is like moving the needle forward. I saw this thing when John Prosser did his video, what was it, yesterday, which I also want to talk about. He talked about how Intel is working on making a chip that's supposed to compete with like the M1 or whatever, or the M1 Max or something, that should be out in a couple of years. I mean, Apple's already beaten it. It's kind of hilarious. I hope Intel's doing more than just that.
I think the craziest thing about this is, if we saw this and we didn't get Apple walking out in their presentation and going, by the way, we are still working on a Mac Pro, I think most of us would have looked at this device and went, oh, that's the new Mac Pro. That's the top performance. That looks about right. That looks good. Yeah. They are going to come out with an even more powerful system than this, which will probably be 4 of these M1 Max chips stitched together, or 2 of these Ultra chips, if you want to call it that, which means this is half of what they're capable of right now. And that, to me, is the most insane part of this. They're not even done.
Well, and then we're going to start seeing the prices of what we used to see with the Pros, right? Those really like $10,000 PCs.
I felt comfortable buying this computer because I went, okay, that Mac Pro, whatever that is, not for me. That's where I draw the line. Travis, the moment I'm spending $6,000 for the computer and it only comes with half a terabyte of storage, that's where I'm like, nope, no, I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
I always say that no matter what it is, usually cars, but in this case, computers, the starting price is never the configuration you want.
Yeah.
It just isn't. They're like, you can, starting price of Lexus is $30,000. You don't want that Lexus because you got to pay more for like air conditioning and everything. Like, you don't want the 30,000. You don't want the base model Lexus or Tesla. You don't want that. You want the thing you saw and the thing that was in all the benchmarks. And that thing is not the base. That's not what that is. So yeah, you're 100% right. By the time you get to the point where you're really kind of happy with it, you're a lot more over. Like, so how much was the big? You got two configurations. What do you get, a base and then whatever you got?
I went for the base model because I wanted to kind of test that out, because I really looked at it and I wanted to give people solid advice. And I went, honestly, I think this, pick whatever storage you need, but that just chip configuration comes with 32 gigabytes of memory by default of RAM.
That's
like,
good.
Hey, that's good for Apple. Oh my, wow.
Yeah, I know,
okay.
right?
So that for $2,000, honestly, hey, that might be, with the exception of storage, that might be the configuration you actually want. I think that's gonna end up being the one to get. I think this Ultra is mostly gonna be pretty needless, even going into it. But I'm curious, so I did want to get the Ultra, and then I kind of spec'd that machine out for me. I went over that in a whole video talking about why I made the decisions I made. And at a certain point, the 128 gigabytes memory, I was like, well, can't replace it later. Why not just max it out now? Especially because you're already spending so much money on everything else. And then the thing that really got me, Travis, configuring my machine was I eat up storage like crazy. And I know you can hang external drives off, and I know all this stuff. Don't tell me that. But the SSDs in these things are really, really fast, and they do speed up your workflows when you're exporting, when you're importing video files. So having that amount of storage in there, for me, it's like a time is money kind of situation. If I have all this storage in there, I get my videos done faster, and that's a good thing for me. It saves me time. And at the end of the day, if I can throw money at a problem and I can get things done and not have to worry about deleting files or managing it, I'm doing that because that's going to help me out in the long run. So I maxed out the storage on this. I went 8 terabytes. And the crazy part about that is the 8 terabyte storage upgrade is literally more money than just getting the base model configuration. It's like a $2,400 add-on. You could save $400 by just getting the base model. So that's probably my biggest flaw. And it's where, honestly, most of the price went in for my configuration, which is like a $7,000 configuration.
Oh, jeez, Greg.
I didn't get the Max Ultra chip, though. There was like one other Ultra chip where it was like, I think mine has 48 GPU cores. And then you could spend $1,000 to get 64 GPU cores. But the CPU cores are exactly the same. So you're literally spending $1,000 for more, like what? How many more is that? Is it, I can't do math. 14 more GPU cores? 14? Sounds right. Yeah. Or is it 16? I don't know. Anyway, you spend that much more money and it's $1,000. So the only upgrade there would be GPU. I need GPU for my job, but I'm not playing games on this because the Mac can't really game anymore. So I don't really see that much need to put money into a GPU. If it was, and I don't know what Apple's strategy is for gaming in the future, it's a big market for high-end customers, which I guess they kind of want to chase now. If they did have a gaming strategy here, I would have invested the extra money into the GPU.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah, it's too bad. We'll see what happens there because I feel like that's the last thing that Apple, if they're really serious about this, needs to figure out.
This, all these chips are M1 still. So they're more cores of stuff, but really it's still the first generation of this chip in different kind of configurations. The fact that they are even competitive with a 3090, whether it's lower or it's just a little bit higher in certain instances, the fact that they're competitive with the 3090 and that it's using, I think they said 200 watts of less power. You come back to me in this chip in 3 generations. Is it the leading graphics card on the market? Can you get anything better? And if Apple isn't thinking of a way to get into that gaming market, if they aren't, they have all the money. They could do a Microsoft. They could buy Valve. They could own Steam. They could own the Steam store. They could bring everything over to Mac or do something like that. If they aren't thinking of a way to get these gaming experiences on these Mac desktops, I know they make more money in mobile gaming, but listen, at this point in the market, you want to get every little bit of money where you can. They wouldn't be making these desktops if they didn't think they could make money on it, like your point to the iPhone SE argument. I really would love to see them get into gaming, because this box at $2,000, maybe it doesn't, I'm sure you could probably build a better gaming PC. But if you tell me I can go into the store, especially now with all of these scalpers, everything, if I can go into the store and buy this $2,000 box and play AAA games on it at like a pretty good resolution and frame rate, and I just plug it into the wall and, you got all the Apple simplicity, I would buy it. If I could have a console-like experience with PC gaming, I think that's a really big market.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's so many opportunities here because of what they're able to do this generation. Maybe once they get into M2 or M3, they'll really start to consider it. M1 is probably a little early for that, but the fact that technically they're still in the first generation, they're just stitching them together, and it makes it's just incredible, Greg. And I don't want to sit here and sound like, oh my God, Apple's so great. That's not really what's going on here, but they're kind of great. Like, what the hell? This is some stuff that could have been done before Apple ever figured it out themselves. And the only reason this is happening is because Intel dropped the ball years ago and slowed down Apple's process. So Apple was like, you know what? In order for us to go where we want to go, we're going to have to do it ourselves, which is kind of ballsy. But they're doing it, which is really weird, because they should not be able to do what they've done so fast. And no matter if you like Apple or don't like them, whatever they can, like, who cares? It is a monumental task that is making Intel sit up and notice. Everyone, including Microsoft, noticed from the M1. Forget about these Pros and Maxes. They were doing commercials trying to talk down the M1. Do you think for a minute they didn't care if they spent money on advertising to try to do these commercials that are supposed to talk about how you don't need the M1 or Windows is better? No, that scared them, because you don't sit in a marketing meeting and go, let's make a marketing thing to try to, slow down the hype train of this other product, unless you're kind of worried.
Yeah. No, there's nothing like it in AMD's. AMD has powerful processors, Intel has some powerful processors. It's the energy efficiency with the power you're getting with these that are really impressive, especially when most people just buy a laptop, where I think these are really where they truly excel. But the fact that they took what started off as iPhone mobile chips and have scaled it up to this point where we're now talking about a desktop class processor that competes with the highest end Intel and AMD's. It's a testament to what Apple's done here with their silicon. I agree. If Intel didn't drop the ball, I don't think we're looking at Apple dealing with the hassle of moving over to their own custom chips. But that's what happened, and it was interesting to watch their event. And in a lot of ways, it was an Apple Silicon event. Every introduction, with the iPhone SE to the iPad Air to this new Mac, it started off talking about the silicon that's inside of it. It's kind of like this shift in Apple where, I don't know, I feel like Apple used to not talk about specs all that much, but they did a lot of talking about specs, about like these chips and stuff like that. So I think they're really happy with what they've done with their Apple Silicon. And it's very impressive. I'm really looking forward to the M1 Ultra reviews. So
just a couple quick things. I've seen a couple things in the chat go by. I just want to quickly touch on them. We're definitely going to have to do another supercast with Rene Ritchie and Luke.
We're going to get the next Apple leaker, Luke Miani.
Yeah. We'll even maybe get the behind the scenes of that.
Let's get some GadgetCast exclusives, I think. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe we should try to get them for next weekend. I think that's appropriate. I think by that point, most of
I guess some of busy. They might be busy.
What do they ship?
The week after that or something.
When do they start coming in? The 18th?
I mean, Renee already has it, but
well, let's be honest. Renee has it.
For us normal folk, it'll be Friday, the 18th.
Yeah, so maybe Duke won't, but by that point, Renee's already got his video shot.
Well,
I forgot about that.
Duke will certainly not. Apparently,
yeah, he will not.
Not now.
He pretty much I tweeted at him. I was like, you pretty much sealed your fate of never getting Apple stuff. As soon as you leak something, it's especially something like that the day before. It's like, bruh.
You're on the list, Luke.
You're on the list now. You're definitely on the list now. We can talk to him about that. Gary and all those guys. Maybe we'll have all those guys over. If not next weekend, then the weekend after. Okay, but what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so I want to save some of that for there, and I definitely am interested in what you see when you do it. What are some of the kind of? Oh yeah. So anyway, sorry. Chat was like, well, is this good enough for editing? And some people are like, well, you should get the big one because YouTube editors. Well, so here's the reality. First of all, Greg's ridiculous. So let's just start there.
Don't be me.
When it comes to hardware, Apple's Greg's a little ridiculous. So should you buy like the Studio or something for videos? Maybe. I mean, there's other products out that Apple has right now that do that. No, but
I think if you're like a YouTube editor, like the M1 Mac Mini, I think is like the best value you can get if you're doing any sort of editing. And I think you'll be very happy with the machine for the price you pay for it. But I'm going to be honest with you. If you're like serious into YouTube, you're making money on it, and you buy that base configuration of the Mac Studio, $2,000. I mean, that's fair for what you're getting.
That's not what I'm.
It's going to grow with you. Like if you're not crazy and replacing it every year, you really shouldn't be doing that with any of these computers. That thing is going to grow with you for like the next 10 years.
Yeah. So, but what I'm more talking about is the storage, because no matter what device it is, Apple hits you over the head with the price on storage. So a lot of people are like, well, your video files are going to be bigger. You should pay the extra money for the storage. Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah.
Here's my thought on it. So while you're editing, speed is definitely critical. And while there are some great USB-C, Thunderbolt, whatever SSD drives that are probably just as fast for anything, for things like what the Studio can do with like 8K files and all the stuff they were talking about, you're probably going to want to be on the internal drive. However, after the file is done, you should be offloading that stuff off your computer. It should be on a storage drive somewhere else. It should be somewhere not on your main computer, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to go back to any of that footage anytime soon. You may reference some of it later, but you can take a bit of the final video project, which is much smaller than the raw files, and just have them sitting around your hard drive while everything else gets put on a NAS drive or somewhere else, so that you're not putting 8 gigs of footage from 2 years ago that you're never going to look at again. So you don't really need an 8 terabyte, drive for that stuff, unless you're like doing movies and stuff. You don't really need it. It's for like a different level of creator or production house or whatever the heck. But as we started this conversation by saying, Greg is a little ridiculous, but I kind of appreciate that for Greg. He is the guy that paid $1,000 for a stand that I don't even know what you're using it for right now. Do you think the new display will work on that?
No, that's the bad thing. I did a video today talking about the display. And if you look at the display options, there's literally a warning from Apple going, pick the one you want now. You cannot change it.
Dang.
So, hey, you're stuck.
Man, that's sad.
No, I agree. The storage thing is, I said it was a little bit ridiculous. I said it would help me out. It will help me out with time and, offloading it to external. That's the thing, right? You have to offload it to external. It takes time to do that. But Travis is right. You kind of want to work with multiple storage options when you're dealing with these files. I like to have at least like a month's worth of footage of the things I've been talking about, because I usually do like a month's follow-up and offload that. But after that, it's like, yeah, you put it onto an external drive. Maybe you reference it sometime in the future. Sometimes I just go on YouTube and download a little clip of what I've already recorded and don't even bother getting the full resolution file, because it's
literally do that.
There's a 5-second segment that no one's going to notice that I ripped off of YouTube. It's fine.
100%. And that's why you don't need large storage on your main PC. You just need enough for whatever you have installed, a little bit of slush, and then whatever files you're transferring over from your SD card or your whatever it is. And it only stays there for a little while. Like if you're not someone who's editing stuff, you probably don't realize this, but as soon as it's done, you upload it, that stuff can go away. And you're editing off your hard drive, but you don't even need like a 2 terabyte hard. You don't need it, because unless you're doing 8K footage, it's just super huge. Greg, what is your normal size of your raw video footage? Just out of curiosity. typically for like a 15-minute video that you do?
I couldn't even tell you. Not that much, honestly. It's probably 15 minutes, probably like 6 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's the final project. But what about the raw footage? Would you say, like, how long? If you have a 15-minute video, how much
the
have
raw
you
footage
shot?
is about 6 gigs.
Okay, 6 gigs, not terabytes. He didn't say. He said gigs. So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like for people who don't realize that that's how it works for like YouTubers, you don't really need 2 terabytes.
But as you know, working with Final Cut, the projects can expand quite.
Yeah, they can go big, but you don't even but they don't even need to, because these things are so powerful now. You don't really need proxies for half this stuff anymore.
Right.
It just plain works, which is kind of incredible. So again, not to say don't get it. I'm just saying if we're talking about, when I talk about this stuff, I really talk about like, well, what's real? Like, what's real? Should you get it? Sure, of course. Get a terabyte.
Oh, no.
Of course.
This is like an Andrew Edwards getting 756 gigabytes of RAM for his Mac Pro. Using that. I don't know why he got that. That's such a waste of money. But I have a 4 terabyte MacBook Pro, which is a lot already, and I filled that up already a few times. So
nice.
So I already found the need and went, okay, I've done this before. Let me just double it, and that'll save some time. But like, if I was, as I said in my videos, if I was recommending this to like a normal person, or even a video editor, honestly, to make the economic choice, it would be maybe spend $200 to get the 1 terabyte version. I think that's fair.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But hey, you have 4 Thunderbolt and 2 really fast USB-C ports on this device, 2 USB-A ports. You got a lot of ports. It's a desktop. You're not moving it. Hang a big external drive off of that thing, or get network attached storage. You'll be paying a fraction of the price for these storage options, and and hey, if you run out of storage, you can just swap in another drive if you need to. Like, you'll do fine with just that. And that's kind of like the great flexibility of having all those ports on that desktop. I know you can't open it up and put your own stuff in there, but with how fast external drives are and how fast Thunderbolt is, there's really no limitation in the speed of the storage now.
And by the way, you should be doing that anyway. Imagine your brand new Mac Studio crashes for some reason and corrupts files, and you lost 8 terabytes worth of footage, and you have no backup. How cringe are you for doing it that way? What is wrong with you? You should be backing up your stuff anyway.
That's my next video. My 8 terabyte Mac Pro ruined my YouTube channel.
Canceled by lack of storage. Okay. Well, anyway, listen, we got a lot to talk about, but we'll finish that up next week. Let me real quick talk about 2 other things. What else do you have before I finish off with these kind of not important stories?
No, I think that's it. Are we going to talk about the studio display at all? That would just be
let's save that for next
companion device,
because you're gonna have it. I think a display is different. You need to look at it. Like, we can talk about it, but I want you to tell us when you're looking at it. I feel like I'll respect your opinion.
Watch for people who want more from GadgetCast, go to Greg's Gadgets YouTube channel. I just put a video up about why I bought the studio display as well, so you can find out that ridiculousness as well.
All right, so last thing for today's show before Aftercast, which people wanting to do one question go, so maybe we'll do that, but we'll probably put a twist on that. Okay, so I've been doing these Switch videos. I don't know if you have not been watching. They're some of the best videos I think I've done. I'm going to give you guys and gals a little bit of a behind the scenes of something that's going on, which I think is great. So before the video came out that I did yesterday, which is doing very well, people seem to really enjoy it. I had considered expanding the series because I think there's something behind it. If you're not familiar, it's when I take someone who either has an iPhone or a Samsung phone or any Android really, and then have them switch to the opposite for a period of time to see if they would ever switch or whatever. It really is about showing someone something new and then, documenting that process. And then at the end saying, hey, would you switch now? And it's been really interesting. It's been some of the most compelling stuff I think I've ever done because I'm in suspense and I'm shocked at the end. So I decided that I was going to start moving into, I think I was going to start inviting some tech YouTubers to do this. Now, there's 2 obvious people that people would say, well, you should do these people. Would be you, obviously, right? Because we work together. And then Renee Ritchie, who, to my knowledge, never really has covered Android at all. I'm sure he's probably used an Android phone here or there. Like, those are obvious ones, right? to switch you guys from iPhone to Android. Well, before I got to that point, I wanted to, and this is kind of silly, I wanted to do a case study, so to speak. I wanted to try it out with someone that I felt like more comfortable. Well, I'd feel comfortable with you. I could have done with you. But someone I felt like I could really not only do it and then, get something good back, but as I started to think more about it, I wanted it to be funny rather than serious. So that person, and I'm just telling, I've hinted at it on Twitter. I think I might even have said it, but I'll say it to GadgetCast, is John Prosser, and he's in the middle of it right now.
Whoa.
He's in the middle of this switch right now. He'll be finished up this week. We had an hour conversation when I explained to him what the switch was, which, by the way, is going to be the name of the series. I'm calling it The Switch. Now I just need to have a really cool intro made. And we talked for an hour, and it was some of the funniest. I was crying. I was laughing so hard at one point because this was not just a regular Switch video, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. There is a huge twist to this. And if you watched Front Page Tech the other day, you saw part of the big twist. So I'm going to leave it for that. We'll have more. We can talk more about it next weekend or whatever, especially if the Supercast doesn't come. But if you missed the Front Page Tech from just the other day, watch it. It's not even something that's hidden. It's in plain sight. So I'm excited to get that one done because I think it's going to be lots of fun. And then, Greg, we'll see. Maybe we'll try you out for a week. Who knows? Do you think? I mean, you've used the Pixel and stuff, so it's not as interesting. But you've not used them as like a daily driver for like a week or anything, right? Like you've just been iPhone pretty much for years.
Well, when I have done like Android phones, I'll use it for like the whole week, kind of. So,
yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm primarily iPhone.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea behind it is not just for people who've never tried Android or anything out before. It's about people who've been, entrenched in something for a couple of years. So you don't have to be forever an iPhone user or reversed. At any rate, we'll talk more about that next week. For the people here in the live stream, we'll do a little bit of fun stuff with you guys and gals. But until then, he's Greg. I'm Travis. This is GadgetCast. We'll see you guys and girls next week. All right. Okay. So people want to do a one question go, but we've never done it on Restream. I don't think there's any difference here. It does give you the option to stream to your own social media, like Twitter or something, if you want to do that, which is kind of cool. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be incredibly strict about this, but I'm going to give priority to people who've never been on one question go before.
Whoa.
So how this works is this. In a minute, and we're only going to do this for a couple minutes because I don't know where this could go sideways. In a couple of like a minute or so, I am going to
trust our audience.
I know. I'm
great.
going to put in chat. I'm going to put the link so that you can join the show with us. You will have to turn on your cam. Now you can do this on your phone, I think, too. So you don't have to be on a computer. You have to have your camera on because I just need to know that you're a real person. I will bring you up. You can ask your one question about anything. It doesn't even have to be about tech. And then you're out. After we answer it, we're kicking you out. We're not even going to be nice about it. But this way, like, if you want to have a little fun, it's fun. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Just watch the hilarity. We've had some interesting ones. Remember when we had what was it? Or what? What was that? What was that again? Remember that?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know,
that was a distant memory.
It was a person with they didn't have their camera on, but all they would say is like, It was so funny, and they would do it every single time. That was fun. So I'm going to go ahead and post it in chat. You can join. I will bring again. We'll start with people who've never been up before. And then after that, we'll get to people who have, and we'll just go through it quick.
Okay.
Right. So everyone can join, but priority will go to people who have never been on before. So we'll see what happens. Give it a couple seconds. Should be fun times. I would love to see new people. I see some people in the chat I've never seen before, or people have only been here recently. I would love to see you guys and gals join.
There's a big surge in viewership today.
Yeah, it's because it's the M1 Ultra and M1 Max. Like everyone's watching videos.
They wanted to know about what we thought about it, which is strange.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't put it to Twitter. Why didn't it put it to my Twitter? That's interesting. Well, it's okay. If you're on Twitter, you should be watching on YouTube.
Yeah, what are you doing on Twitter?
What are you doing? Shenanigans. Like, who watches video on Twitter? Cringe. Cringe.
We need to live stream at TikTok.
I don't even think, can you? From like a third party?
Oh, you can. Oh, I don't know about third party. But
that's the problem. Instagram won't even let you. Kelvin, it doesn't matter what your camera is. Just something that we can see.
540p is better.
Yeah. 100%. It doesn't matter. I just want to make sure y'all ain't crazy. That's why I want to make sure that, when you tweet, you have to face reveal. That's right. All right, Jasmine. Isn't that your face in this picture though? You're already face revealed, right? Yeah. That's all right. Listen, come on through. We would love to talk to any of you. We're only going to do this for a little bit though, so you're going to have to start coming in now. Hold on, got to put your pants on. Okay, Danny, you actually don't need to. I'm not even wearing pants. I never wear pants when I'm doing it. Even when I do my own videos, I don't think I've ever worn pants in my videos except for when I'm outside.
It's always true. Wearing always.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. When I listen, I'm out here. I'm out here with no pants, no shoes, no socks on because I'm just walking around. That's how I do it. That's how I do it. Yeah, because it's ridiculous. Why would I wear pants in my house?
Why wouldn't you?
Because I wear shorts and stuff.
Yeah, need to be ready to leave at a moment's notice.
I have a feeling that you probably have a wrestling mask, and if you have one around, you can put that on because that's kind of funny. I think that'd be funny.
Put a ski mask over your face or something.
put a sock over your face.
Everyone has to do something funny from the pandemic. Just wear like a face mask.
Yeah, wear a face mask. That's fine. We keep everyone safe. Be safe.
Put one here, then put one up top.
Over your eyes and your face.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw something like I've been watching this guy called Carl Jacobs, I think, on YouTube. And he does speed runs, and this guy did a speed run blindfolded, which is kind of crazy, but he had a mask and a blindfold on, so it looked exactly like what you just said.
Yeah.
All right, we got first one up. Danny back in the house. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you. Sorry, actually didn't know if this was going to work or not. I was like, what's
we need to get Danny Black off here. He's got a better setup than us. This is looking bad. Get out
too
of here.
Professional.
No.
Get out of here with this.
It's early morning here in Australia, so I haven't even had my coffee yet. So, and you're right. I don't wear pants ever when I'm editing. It's the best way.
Exactly right. See, Greg.
I can't accept this. No,
it's fine. It's fine.
Team pants.
All right, Danny. What do you got for us? Shoot.
Sorry, I actually thought I was going to be in a long line, so I was going to come up with a better question. But what do you think it's a smart idea for them to get rid of iMacs because of like their environmental, like, it's like less shipping, less, you know what I'm saying? Like it's better just to ship a little box and hope that people have the monitors or sell the display. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. What do you think, Greg?
I feel like I don't have the qualifications to answer it, but I guess what I will say is there's probably a good argument to make that if you just buy the box, the computer box, and you hook it up to an existing monitor, that's obviously using less materials. Or the thing that I would say is, as someone who's bought a couple of iMacs in their lifetime, is when I buy a new iMac, it's okay, I'm replacing everything. So I am getting a whole new monitor with it too, even though I had an old iMac where the monitor worked fine. So now with this new setup of getting the separate display and the separate Mac Studio box, when they release the Mac Studio 2, I just got to get the Mac Studio 2. I don't need another display to go along with it. So I assume it is probably more environmentally friendly to do that.
I think it's better, but the problem is I really like the iMac now. So this is my first ever iMac. I've had the Mac Mini, I've had the Mac Air, I've had all those things, and they've been fine. But for some reason, and I think it's because of how simplistic and minimalistic it is, I actually really like the iMac series, and now I think I'm kind of stuck on iMac. Like I don't necessarily want to go to a two-part thing because I already have that with my PC. So it's hard for me to, I mean, from an environmental standpoint, obviously, right? But from a business standpoint, I think it has more to do with factors that we don't actually have the answers to. Like how much profit are they making these other things? and also to have a bunch of products that can be sold to multiple people is one thing, but to have too many products that are really confusing and no one knows what to buy, so you get like analysis paralysis, is a bad thing. So you need to have things that are obvious. Like we were talking about earlier with the Air and the Pro of the iPad, it's kind of hard to know what to go with. I believe Apple will fix that this year. Having said that, when you have like 27 things to buy and you're sitting there going, I don't know which one to buy, it just makes more sense to pare things down, make them obvious. Perhaps iMac is just consumer. Maybe that's what their line is going to be from now on. iMac's considered consumer, and then everything else is professional. We'll see.
Good answer. All right. I'll leave you guys, but I feel like I'm in the Brady Bunch a little bit here. I'm like, hey,
it is, trust me, you don't want to be in this Brady Bunch. This is a terrible family.
All right. See you guys later.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Danny Black. Appreciate him for dropping on by. Any more before we go? It looks like everyone who said they were all excited about doing this.
Wow.
Everyone's scared.
I'm
They're all
offended.
scared. Oh, okay. Hold on. 619 WWE fan.
This is the last show.
Come on. You got to put something on 619. I need to see some type. Okay. He's put. Okay. Hold on. All right. Now we have two people.
Show because no one wanted to talk to me. I'm very offended.
You should be offended. Wait, why is it not letting? Okay. Wait, what's going on here? I just let him on, but it won't. Oh, because he doesn't have video, it's not letting me pull him on.
What?
So yeah, let me do Nicholas for a second. Hey, Nicholas, what's going on, buddy? Oh, can't hear you, bud. Can everyone hear him?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, man?
Two quick opinions. I have the iPhone 12. I'm not planning on upgrading this year, and this is just the base 12, mind you, the 6.1 inch. But next year, I'm looking at getting the 15 Pro or Pro Max for the Periscope camera, Zoom camera. Do you all think that would be?
Oh, he dropped out a little bit. I think what he's asking is, do we think that that's a good enough reason to upgrade, or that's a good primary reason to upgrade? So okay, there he is. Hold on. Back. Okay, I think you were saying the Periscope camera, and what were you going to finish what you were saying?
The Periscope Zoom camera from the 12 to the 15 Pro or Pro Max, whichever's.
Yeah, we don't really know what the 15 is going to have. My guess is finally going to be better than oh, he keeps dropping. You keep dropping, my friend. Maybe
a notification thing keeps popping up.
No problem. So in my opinion, whatever the 15 is, whatever it looks like, whatever it has is going to be fine. It's going to be excellent. Much beyond what you have, much beyond what we'll see this year. I don't know that the Periscope camera, if that is going to be in the 15, is even the thing or the reason you should buy it, unless you really want to take a lot of pictures of things really far away. What do you think, Greg?
I mean, I think it's a good time to jump. It's just like the question of the feature. It's kind of hard to like say like, well, should you get it? You know, it's kind of like a lot of like hypotheticals. But if you've really wanted longer zoom on the iPhone, and that's the feature that they introduce, and that's what you've always wanted, then that's probably the time to upgrade. You really should base your upgrades on the features that you want actually coming out, rather than, oh, it's a new phone, I should get the new phone. So if you've been waiting for the zoom feature on the iPhone 15 Pro and it comes out and you're happy with the results, I would say, yeah, it's a great time to upgrade.
I missed the zoom from my Samsung S9 Plus. I don't have the telephoto anymore. So this is something that I would say would be worth the upgrade. Do you think all the other Pro features will be nice as well?
I mean, it's a guess. It's a guess at this point. It's really and we barely know what's happening next week. I mean, we'll hopefully figure it out. Yeah. But, thanks, Nicholas. I got to get to the next guy who's waiting, but we'll do this again soon. We appreciate you. Nicholas, a great support of the show.
I would say, just to end that,
good.
It's hard to say because smartphone upgrades have become so kind of like stagnant, but traditionally going from like a 3-year phone jump, traditionally just looking on the past market, that's usually been a pretty good time to upgrade with like a lot of different features coming out. So I would say, I think it would probably be worth it, but I really can't say.
Yeah. 619 is back. It's not pulling him up because he doesn't have his video on. What's going on?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey, sorry guys. But yeah, long time no see. Hope you guys are doing well.
Hey.
So, my quick question was, so it's a two-sided question. What is your favorite Disney villain, and what's your favorite Disney villain song?
Well, I don't know the Disney villain songs, but let me think.
All right, I'll answer.
Does Marvel count because Disney owns them?
No, it has to be Disney.
All right, favorite Disney villain is gonna be Captain Hook, my favorite Disney villain, and my favorite Disney villain song would probably be Scar from Lion King. I think that would probably be my favorite.
All right, nice.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I'll pick something different. Brr. I mean, how can you not like Cruella? Like, kind of dope. What about? I'll go Jafar.
All right.
It's a different one. I don't think people saw that coming.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's your question this week.
What's
619?
619's favorite? We got to find.
Oh yeah. What's yours?
So my favorite villain, I would say Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. But my favorite villain song would be Hellfire from Frollo.
Oh,
Hellfire.
Well, that's the only one I think I know, actually. So amazing stuff, man. We appreciate you being on. As always, you're always here supporting us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, later.
Nice talking to you.
So we're gonna head out, but yeah, everyone who's out there who is scared to come up, I would hope that if we do this again, like next week or the week after or whatever.
How could they be scared to come up here?
I know.
We put our lives on the line every single week. It's a life
okay.
or
I'll
death
tell you what.
situation.
Because we did this for 619, the next 3 people who don't want to show their camera but would talk in the voice can come up, but you got to do it quickly.
Okay.
I'll put the chat in one more time. Put in chat one more time.
You're making me look bad here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. If you don't want to show your face, fine.
Bad.
But it's a phone call at this point. It's basically
I'm
a phone
my
call.
face, and it's not anything special. So
yeah,
you can show yours.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The fact that we're showing our faces is kind of offensive.
I took this face and I went, you know what would be a good idea? Why don't I start a YouTube channel where people can look at this all the time?
That's the ticket. I got a
That
face
was
for
my
radio.
winning strategy. I went, yeah, that works.
So funny. Okay, we got it. We're gonna wait another minute. If someone shows up, great. If not, then we're gonna head out. We appreciate everyone who's been through. Make sure you hit the like button while you're here, because why not? It's free and it helps us out.
Why not?
Let's see. Mark. Oh, wait. Who's someone delivering something? By the way, I really like. One of my things got delivered from Amazon. I'll go get it. But I really like HelloFresh. I probably should get a. I should probably get a sponsorship from them, because I actually like their product line. Here's the thing about HelloFresh, if you don't know anything about it. It's, they send you these things, like you pick on a website, these are things I want to have delivered. But I didn't know you actually had to cook it, which I wasn't super excited about. Having said that, every single thing I've gotten from there has been really good. So far, I'm digging HelloFresh. I have my final dinner for this week tonight. And if the streak continues, I might have to reach out to them, because I think they did reach out to me a long time ago.
Did you see the new Batman movie?
I haven't yet, so don't spoil it. I do want to see it. I don't think I'm going to go to the theater.
I don't know. Future Gadget cast.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we also can do. So we still need to do the fast food podcast. We probably need to do like a movie cast too.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much stuff, just no time and not a lot of motivation, but we have great ideas. Oh wait, we got one more.
Perfect.
What's up, Jonathan? Hello. Jonathan. Hey now. Hello, Jonathan. We can hear. We can't hear you. Okay. Well.
Hey, wait. Sorry about that, bro.
Hey.
How's it going, guys?
It's going good. How are you?
You know me as an NYR fan forever. I've been watching this for a while.
How you doing, man?
Awesome.
How goes?
So my question is, I've heard your bit on the iPad Air. Like, what would you say is, like, which one is geared towards which? Like the Pro versus the Air, because it's so darn close now. It's like, it's so hard to recommend one over the other because they're pretty much Pro and Pro.
Yeah, that was the problem we were having in the beginning part of this podcast, and I don't know that I'm any closer to an answer until the new Pros come out. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I think what I would add is I think the issue me and Travis are probably having, and a lot of the tech community is having, is our inherent bias with just the specs that we like. It was the argument about 60 hertz versus 120 hertz on iPhone and stuff, and it's hard when you're so into technology, being an enthusiast, to kind of think about the normal person, the market for the regular iPad and the iPad Air, and kind of be like, you could just look and go, oh wow, 120 hertz, who wouldn't want that? I could never go back to the regular iPad. But you got to realize that most of the people that buy these products look at it are coming from a much older iPad probably, or an older device, and they're buying this and it's brand new, runs great, super fast, and they're loving it. They're, you know, most people would probably, like an average customer, I think, would probably go, the iPad Pro is 120 hertz, but this iPad's pink. I love pink. I want pink. I'm gonna get the pink iPad. I think that's where most average customers are, and I think the iPad Air that's the one to get for them.
Yeah, the average Joe is not going to know the difference between 120 and not 120.
Yeah.
100% agree. Appreciate you, Jonathan. Jonathan's been supporting. Jonathan, let me just talk about Jonathan right quick. Jonathan has been supporting the show darn near since the first week. He's such an incredible supporter. We greatly appreciate him.
Absolutely.
Always here.
We always recognize. Oh, look at this.
We got Raphael. What's going on, Raphael?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good, man. What's going on?
What's going on? Big fans of you guys. You guys doing great work.
Oh, snap.
Listen,
that's cool.
Where do you guys see Apple going with Apple Silicon? I mean, it's getting crazy. You know, they're soldering two chips together.
Right.
Soon we're gonna have Skynet. I mean, like, where do you guys see them going with this?
Yeah, I have thoughts. Greg, go ahead. I have thoughts on this, but yeah.
Hey, listen. You know, you're talking about Skynet. I got to talk to Super Mario. I got to talk to him yesterday through a microphone, through AI, I believe, or something like that, which was an interesting experience. So who knows? Maybe we're already there, but. Where they're going with Apple Silicon, I feel like we kind of know at this point, right? Like, it's amazing and stuff like that. I feel like there's just kind of like one last puzzle piece to insert here, and that is the chip for the Mac Pro. And it's kind of leaked out already. Like, it's going to be at least like it's going to be two of these chips, or two of the M2 Max chips stuck together. And I think for the long haul, it's Apple prioritizing on energy efficiency and power. And in a couple years, what does that mean for the devices they want to build? I think that leads to a virtual reality headset, an augmented reality headset. They're building the groundwork here to make those devices thinner and lighter. And I think that's kind of the direction Apple Silicon is going in. We look at these chips that are getting powerful. They're getting powerful to do something. It's probably to build applications for these future apps, which are going to require a lot more horsepower than we even have now.
So I think this really has to do with what Apple wants to do, because ultimately they could go anywhere, including into servers, which would be really, for their bottom line, would be really interesting. It'd be irrelevant to us. We wouldn't really see the benefits of this necessarily. But for server farms and stuff, the power savings alone and their thermals alone are enough to get people's mouth watering who run big server farms. They could go, they've already, you got to remember, they started on phones. Like, the processors there, they're done. Normally you'd go, well, now you can go to phones. We're already there. Yeah. And they're just scaling up. And the fact that it's working scaling up, and you're going to see the potential for that, is really compelling. Now, the problem is, currently, it's only a Mac OS thing, and getting network admins to put a Mac as a server is going to be heavily on whether that admin has ever used Mac before. Not that the hardware can't do it, because I've worked with many people in IT at that position, and they are very much stuck in their ways.
Yeah,
because
they're on Microsoft. Yeah.
100%, because A, they know it, and B, they realize if they screw up, that's their job. And they don't have time to experiment. So if they get people in that position that are happy and confident with Mac, and Apple can actually infiltrate that, That's a game changer. Again, nothing that affects you and me, but from a business perspective and for a lot of other things for Apple, it's a huge deal. Their biggest obstacle isn't even the hardware or software. It's literally like the people in power in place that would never be like, no Apple Mac OS in this. So it could go anywhere. It's just a matter of like where they decide to push their money and their kind of prowess, because you're right, man. The M series of processors is legit. And if Intel and AMD are not paying attention, their lunch is getting eaten. All right, Raphael, man. That was a great question. We appreciate you, man. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Peace and love. Look, we got some good questions this time. That was really good. That was one of the best. That was one of the best ones we've ever done. All right, we'll maybe do more next time. Everyone, peace and love. We appreciate you. I got to talk to Greg about something. So we'll talk to you later.
Oh no.